So that, everyone, is the university that I'm going to this year. It is the University of... This week, I'm going to university. In this video, I'm going to be explaining which universities I applied to, which university I'm going through, and giving you some important advice based on the lessons I've learned through my university application. So the first thing I want to do is give a little bit of background. Now, you all know my GCSE. If you've watched me before, I got all 9s in my GCSEs, and I got A star, B in my A-levels. I chose to apply. I was always going to take a gap year, and I chose to apply after I got my results, because then I thought that I'd know like where I could apply to, and I thought that would help me more. And I also thought I'd had more time when I was applying as well. Now, A star, B was a surprise for me. I thought I'd get A star, A or 3 A stars. So that was a massive blow for me. And actually what you'll find is that my university applications in a way are a little bit depressing, because it's basically a case of me who kind of felt like I deserved more and ended up getting rejected from a lot of universities. So you'll see, but it's all worked out well. So that's the kind of background. That's my grades, my general, and I was going to be studying history and politics was my plan. Now, this limited me with a couple. I probably would have studied just politics, but I wanted to apply to Oxford or Cambridge, and neither of them did politics. They just did history and politics as a course, or Cambridge did history and politics. I think Oxford did too as well. So that's what I was thinking. I was thinking, right, if I'm going to apply for Cambridge and I want my personal statement to be the same for every uni. I don't want to do politics at other unis and stuff. So that's why I went for history and politics. It's also, I like those two subjects. I really enjoy them and I enjoy how they overlap. So that's the subject I was applying for. Now, these are the unis that I actually applied for. So I applied for Cambridge, Oxford, not Oxford. You can only apply for one. I applied to Cambridge, Edinburgh, Uni of Manchester, University of Southampton, and LSE. Okay, so those are the 5 unis I applied for. Now, Cambridge and LSE, those were like my absolute dream, with Edinburgh 3rd, Manchester was 4th place, and then Southampton was 5th. Now, just days after I applied, I was logging on to UCAS and I kept refreshing it. I just thought, I'll just check it. And I checked it, and literally a few days after I applied, I found out I had an offer from the University of Manchester. One other thing to add, by the way, is that all of these courses, the minimum entry requirement was technically AAA. So I technically didn't meet the entry requirements for a single university that I applied for, but I thought that there'd be some flexibility, and it turned out I was actually right. So Manchester gave me an offer, right? Even though I didn't meet their entry requirements, they gave me an offer only a few days after. So then I kind of came up with this idea, which worked, and I hadn't really seen it before. But I thought, if Manchester have given me an offer, I know I'm not going to go to Southampton. So I thought, you're allowed to switch within 2 weeks. So what I did was I swapped Southampton, and I thought, you know what, I'm just going to switch this for a way more ambitious uni, just in case they let me in. So I swapped Southampton for Warwick. And that turned out to be a fantastic decision for me, because Warwick then gave me an offer in like a few weeks' time. So I had an offer from the University of Manchester and University of Warwick to study history and politics. And that kind of saved me in a way, because that meant I could apply to more ambitious unis, because I knew Manchester was kind of my worst case scenario. Then around, I think it was December time, I got a rejection from Cambridge. Now, to be honest, this wasn't really a surprise to me, right? I was applying for history and politics at Cambridge with a B in history. So I felt this was coming. It was disappointing, because I'd always kind of, ever since I got my GCSEs, I was like, I really want to go to Cambridge. But I don't think I've been someone who completely obsesses over Oxbridge and getting into Cambridge. That wasn't like an obsession of mine. I made many mistakes, I think, during the application process. For example, I didn't really look into the colleges, and I applied for the most competitive college there is, Trinity College, Cambridge. So yeah, but Cambridge rejected me, and that was disappointing, but kind of expected, to be honest. So then ensued a massive wait, right? That happened in about November, I think it was. And then, so I had 3 decisions. Then I had to wait ages for the next 2. So I was waiting on Edinburgh and LSE. Now, I thought that Edinburgh would fairly likely to give me an offer, and I thought LSE would probably reject me. In some ways, they're more competitive than Cambridge. And with my B, I felt personally that I was hindered quite a lot. And so I actually recorded the Edinburgh decision, but it's really annoying. I just lost it. When I got an email saying that you have a UCAS decision, it's really stressful, by the way. You keep refreshing it. And I got my iPad out and I started filming it, but for some reason it's just gone. So I don't have the footage, but what I did was I opened it up, I started filming, and I unfortunately got rejected by Edinburgh. Now, this was actually disappointing to me. And you could see what I meant when I was talking about earlier about how it felt like my university applications I felt like I had the potential for these unis, but because I was by the way, as I'm sure you know, I was one mark off an A. So I felt like I had the potential, and I thought I'd push the limits and test myself and apply for these unis, and a lot of them ended up rejecting me. So Edinburgh rejected me. That was a bit more disappointing, a bit more humbling, because it was like, Edinburgh's a very good uni, but it's not Cambridge, it's not LSE, it's not like an elite uni. So I was a little bit shocked by that. Now, in the weeks before Edinburgh rejected me, I was starting to lean towards Warwick a bit, because it's much closer to me. And yeah, Edinburgh I thought looked amazing. But in hindsight, I wouldn't have gone to Edinburgh anyway, actually. But it would have been nice to kind of have the offer. And then finally, just a few weeks later, LSE rejected me. This wasn't really a surprise. I had like the tiniest hope that they'd give me an offer. But again, how can you apply history and politics to the world's best universities with a B in history? It's unlikely to happen. So when the LSE rejection came in, it was like, okay, job done. I know I'm going to University of Warwick. So that, everyone, is the university that I'm going to this year. It is the University of Warwick. Now, I'll be honest, I didn't know too much about Warwick actually before I applied. I remember saying to my dad, like the reason I didn't apply to Warwick in the first place, I was like, oh, I don't want to go to Warwick. That just seems a bit boring. I think I was really wrong. When I visited Warwick, I was struck. It really felt like a really good university. And if you want the kind of tables, the rankings, and these rankings don't always mean much, Warwick is consistently ranked a top 10 university in the UK. Sometimes it's as high as kind of 6th, 7th in the UK. So Warwick is a pretty elite university. I'm very happy to be there, to be honest. It is a nice campus university, and you'll see so many more videos from me all about Warwick. I'd recommend loads of you guys apply to Warwick as well. It'd be great I'd probably see some of you there. So there'll be loads more videos on that, the university content. Let me know in the comments what sort of videos you want to see about that. But that is effectively my university. I'm going to the University of Warwick to study history and politics. Now, what I want to talk about finally is the lessons learned through this. So I want you guys to take from this that I didn't give up. I thought even with a B, I knew it was unlikely, but I wanted to apply for Cambridge anyway. I'm not saying you should apply to Cambridge with 3 C's, but I thought, what if? You can't not go for it. I knew I'd regret it if I didn't apply for Cambridge just to push numbers. So I'm really proud that I applied. One other thing that I think is really useful is if you get all 5 of your offers from unis, I don't think you've pushed yourself hard enough. Now, there are some crazy smart individuals who get offers from literally the 5 best unis in the UK. But if you're getting all your offers, then I don't think you've pushed yourself to the limit. So I think it's good to get 1 or 2 rejections, 1 or 2 really ambitious unis. So I'm super proud that I applied for those. And yeah, I'd do that again in a heartbeat. The second thing is I wouldn't fixate on a specific university. I sent out an email in my email list recently talking about this in more detail. So make sure, by the way, that you're subscribed to my email list. You just put in your email and get a free weekly email from me. But I wasn't crazy about Cambridge. When I got it, it was disappointing. It helped that I was expecting it, I guess, because I did know my results. So I knew it was less likely. But I think for me, it was a little bit easier because that wasn't like the be-all end-all. I know students who are devastated not going to Cambridge. I'll talk about this in more detail, but it's not the end of the world for me at all, really. I'm super happy with Warwick. I can't stress that enough. And if I want to go to Cambridge, I might do a master's there or something. So there are other options there as well. So don't fixate on one specific uni. Have some backup options that are still excellent. I think not enough students understand that there are still really good universities out there that aren't Cambridge and Oxford. So I think that really helped me. The final thing I would say is I wish I applied during my A-levels as well. And then, because I knew I was going to take a gap year, when I got my results, I could have applied again. So it's like I would have had 2 shots. Now, the downside of this would have been, imagine if I got into Cambridge and because I got a B in history, I missed out the offer by 1 mark. That would genuinely feel worse than me applying after my results. So there's a bit more risk, but that meant I could have applied twice. And you never know. I might have got into LSE and they might have said, if you resit this and get an A, then you can get in next year or something like that. So I probably, in hindsight, wish I applied them, and I wish I applied again during my gap year. Taking a gap year, by the way, is a great idea. And in the end, with my history resit, that didn't even matter because Warwick gave me an offer for A star, B. They let me in anyway. So I thought I'd resit history just in case, like Cambridge or something said that. But I didn't need the reset, and I decided to do it anyway, just from kind of myself to get an A. But that is my university decision. Please comment your questions. If anyone else is going to work, then let me know as well. Reach out to me, and I'd love to talk to you. And I'm sure you guys were seeing a lot more about the University of Warwick from me.